Here's a little story. John and Brad were identical twins who had a rough childhood marked by an alcoholic and violent father. As adults, their lives took very different paths. John followed in his father's footsteps, becoming an alcoholic. Brad was able to break free from this cycle and build a stable life for himself. When asked why he turned to alcohol, John responded without hesitation.
"It's because of my father. I grew up in the violence of his alcoholism. I never knew anything else."
When asked how he managed to stay sober, Brad replied just as quickly,
"It's because of my father. I suffered so much from his alcoholism, and I never wanted my children to go through the same thing."
Same alcoholic father, same circumstances, same answer. It's because of my father, but completely different reactions. Before we go any further, you're watching Be Better Chanel. Stay tuned. Introduction. We've all experienced those times when it feels like our world is falling apart. But what sets apart those who quickly bounce back from those who stay stuck in pain? In this video, I'll share 3 lessons I've learned over the years to cultivate greater resilience and lasting well-being. These are 3 essential keys to navigating life's ups and downs. The importance of our reactions, the power of taking control of what we can, and how to overcome the fear of what lies ahead. Lesson 1. The old saying goes, "It's not the storm that wrecks us, it's our failure to adjust the sails." This striking image perfectly captures how we shape our own experience of the world. Events, as unpredictable and sometimes painful as they may be, are merely waves on the ocean of life. What matters is our ability to ride those waves, tame them, or navigate around them. We can't always choose what happens to us, but we can always choose how we respond. A professional setback, for example, can be seen as a catastrophe that ends all our hopes, or as an opportunity to bounce back and explore new paths. It all depends on the lens through which we choose to view that event. To fully grasp this principle of life, here's what ancient wisdom tells us. A fundamental principle of a happy life is to manage life's events positively, whether they are happy or sad. Our reaction to these events is essential. We cannot always control what happens to us, but we can choose how we react to it. By developing our ability to influence our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we take control of our lives and open the door to lasting happiness. We cannot control the events, but we can choose how to react to them. If we cannot change what happens to us, we can change the way we experience it. Our power lies less in controlling circumstances than in managing our reactions to them. Events are external to us, but our attitudes are internal and within our control. Even if we cannot control everything, we have the power to shape our own experience by choosing how we position ourselves in relation to events. We do not command the winds, but we can adjust our sails. We are like boats on a stormy sea. We cannot control the waves, but we can adjust our sails. We cannot change the storm, but we can learn to dance in the rain. External events are beyond our control. Losing a job, a conflict, a promotion, or a move are situations that can happen to anyone. Our reactions are within our power. We can choose to be overwhelmed by our negative emotions, or we can show resilience and seek solutions to problems and make the most of happy events without worrying about the future. Our attitude impacts our well-being. By adopting a positive and constructive attitude, we can turn a trial into an opportunity for personal growth. Thus, a layoff can be an excuse to sink into depression or a reason to start your own business. A promotion can lead to professional fulfillment, or it can overwhelm us with responsibilities at the expense of the rest of our lives. A move is either a painful separation that leads to isolation or an opportunity to make new and enriching connections. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Charles R. Swindoll. Happiness is not the absence of problems, but the ability to deal with them. Mitchell Palmer. Life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. John Lennon. Lesson 2. Focusing on what matters most. Instead of exhausting ourselves trying to control the uncontrollable, it is much wiser to focus our energy on what is within our power. It's like a gardener who, faced with a drought, cannot control the climate, but can choose to adapt their crops, set up an irrigation system, or search for new, more resistant varieties. Once again, consider these ideas to better grasp the wisdom of this principle. Our power lies in the art of distinguishing what is within our control, our thoughts, our actions, our choices, from what is not external events, the opinions of others. By accepting the unpredictable and focusing our efforts on what we can influence, we cultivate inner peace and resilience in the face of life's uncertainties. We should direct our energy and attention to what we can actually change and control through our own actions, rather than worrying excessively about what ultimately escapes our control. Let us cultivate discernment between the garden of our soul that we water, our thoughts and actions, and the vast ocean of external events upon which we sail. The key to happiness lies in accepting the uncontrollable and mastering the influential, our thoughts, our actions, and our choices. A free person is one who clearly distinguishes between the inner world they shape and the outer world over which they have only limited influence. Resilience is born from the ability to accept the unpredictable and act on what depends on us, our thoughts, our attitudes, and our choices. Our freedom lies in our ability to choose our thoughts and actions, even in the face of external events that seem beyond our control, or that truly are beyond our control. All human beings face elements they cannot change. Wisdom lies in accepting this reality while acting on what is within our power. You cannot change the wind, but you can adjust your sails. Chinese proverb. The only thing we have to do is to do our next duty. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. It is better to light a small candle than to curse the darkness. In our relationships, let us accept the thoughts and emotions of others, their past actions, their decisions. There is nothing we can do about it. Let us focus instead on our own behavior, our expressions, our active listening, our efforts towards communication, our boundaries. For our work, what is not within our power? The decisions of management, the behavior of colleagues, breakdowns, and emergencies. What we should consider: our attitude at work, our quality of work, our organization, our proactivity, our ability to find solutions. Regarding our health, heredity, certain diseases, accidents are beyond our control. So let us focus on improving our diet, physical activity, sleep, and stress management. In summary, accept the unpredictable. There is no point in dwelling on what we cannot change. Act on what is within our power. By making informed decisions and taking concrete actions, develop a positive attitude. Resilience, patience, and optimism are valuable assets for facing challenges. Action takes precedence over complaint. We must act wisely and decisively rather than simply criticizing. Lesson 3. Worry, a poison for the soul. Worry is like a lighthouse, scanning the horizon for potential dangers, often imaginary. By focusing on potential threats, we risk missing out on the beauty around us. It's like a traveler who, afraid of falling, would never take the time to enjoy the scenery. The future is uncertain, and it is precisely this uncertainty that feeds worry. Now, this worry is a bit like a poison that gnaws at our happiness from the inside. By focusing on the negative, we create a vicious cycle. The more we worry, the less we appreciate the present, and the more we attract new reasons to worry. Worry is a thief of joy, a saboteur of our dreams, and an enemy of inner peace. By learning to control it, we open the door to a more serene and fulfilling life. For this third lesson, Here are some ideas to engrave this principle in our minds and keep it there for the rest of our lives. Worry about the future is a natural reaction, but it is important to find ways to manage it in order to preserve our mental well-being. By learning to live in the present moment and cultivating a positive attitude, we can significantly reduce our anxiety levels and improve our quality of life. Often, we anticipate future suffering that never comes, or we torture ourselves with unfounded what-ifs. We build sandcastles in the quicksands of anxiety, anticipating storms that may never come. We let the shadow of the future darken the light of the present, worrying about pleasures that are not yet ours and pains that may never come. Our minds have an unfortunate tendency to ruminate on negative scenarios, even improbable ones, thus generating unnecessary suffering. Attachment to future desires and fear of future suffering trap us in an endless cycle of suffering. We suffer less from events themselves than from our judgments of them, especially when we anticipate future misfortunes. By projecting ourselves into an uncertain future, we miss the opportunity to fully live in the present moment. We carry imaginary burdens, chains forged by our own thoughts, preventing us from being free. We have the power to choose our thoughts. By cultivating a positive attitude, we can significantly reduce our suffering. Happiness does not lie in a hypothetical future, but in the ability to appreciate each present moment as it is. We often suffer more from what we imagine than from what is real. Our fears and worries can create unnecessary suffering. Anticipating pain can be more painful than the pain itself. Our mind has the power to make us suffer, even in the absence of real suffering. By clinging to an uncertain future, we forget to fully live in the present. Suffering is often the result of our thoughts and not of events themselves. Happiness does not lie in the absence of problems, but in our ability to face them calmly. By cultivating a positive attitude, we can turn our suffering into strength. Don't let your mind steal your present by worrying about a future that doesn't exist yet. Worry is a poor advisor. It makes us see problems where there are none. Most of the things we worry about never happen. Mark Twain. Life is too short to be wasted on what-ifs. Anxiety is like a rocking chair. It gives you a lot of motion but gets you nowhere. Anxiety is like paying in advance for a problem that may never happen. Conclusion. Also, I encourage you to put these 3 principles into practice daily. Knowing is not enough. Knowledge is only useful if it generates daily action. Start by identifying a situation that stresses you and ask yourself, what is my part in this situation? What can I do to improve things? And what do I need to accept? By answering these questions, preferably in writing, and acting immediately afterwards, you will take a big step towards a more peaceful and fulfilling life. To conclude, remember these 3 points. 1. Our reaction to events shapes our reality. 2. By acting on what we can control and accepting the immutable, we open the way to a stress-free life full of serenity. 3. Giving our often unfounded worries their rightful value is essential to fully live in the present moment. So, ready to take control of your happiness? Subscribe to this channel to discover new strategies to flourish every day. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And never forget, the most beautiful journey is the one we take within ourselves.